I never thought I'd end up here, especially not like this. I thought I knew her. Hell, I thought I knew us. We'd been planning the wedding for months, little things, details, making everything perfect. I could practically see the life we'd build together. I'd always believed she was the one for me. That's what made the betrayal hit like a punch to the gut. All those quiet promises, all those moments of trust, shattered in a second. It started with little red flags that I always brushed aside. She was secretive about her phone, but I figured everyone has their own space. She'd get defensive if I asked to see her messages, and I'd just shrug, thinking, it's none of my business. She was busy, stressed, working late, a lot. I told myself she was just dedicated, just passionate. Deep down, though, I could feel I was ignoring the signs. There was something too slick about her excuses, too quick to change the subject when I pressed. Then came the night before the wedding. Everything was set, the house was quiet. I was packing last-minute stuff, nervous but excited. She'd gone out for a quick dinner with her sister. I remember staring at the clock, feeling that weird mix of anticipation and dread. That's when my phone buzzed. I hesitated, then grabbed it, expecting a message from a vendor or a friend. Instead, I saw her name. "Hey, can't wait to see you tonight. I love you, Red," it said. Nothing unusual, right? But then I saw the reply from someone I didn't expect. "My brother, me too, just thinking about you. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow." My stomach dropped. I stared at those words like they'd been etched into my mind. My brother, my own blood. I felt a rush of heat in my face, a sick twisting in my gut. I scrolled back through her messages, biting my lip to keep from screaming. They were more flirty, intimate, downright reckless. The kind of stuff you keep hidden, the kind that makes your blood run cold when you realize you were blind to it all. She was lying about dinner. She'd been with him. I could see their messages, the way they joked, the way they whispered secrets. All of it. I'd been planning my future, fooling myself into thinking I knew her. But I didn't. I was just blind. I stood there trembling, my fists clenched so hard my nails cut into my palms. I could feel the sweat on my forehead, the pounding in my chest. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or just smash everything around me. My wedding day ruined before it even started. That's when I knew this wasn't just a mistake. This was betrayal, a full-blown, deliberate betrayal. And I wasn't going to let it slide. Not without a fight. I still remember the cold sweat on my palms as I stared at her last message. "Tonight, going to be unforgettable," she had said. Yeah, unforgettable, just not in the way she thought. I kept scrolling, trying to find some shred of her innocence, but all I saw was a trail of lies. She'd been lying to my face for months. All the little moments, the casual touches, the whispered "I love you," they all meant nothing. She'd been playing me, just waiting for her chance. I thought about confronting her then and there, but I knew that wouldn't be enough. I had to think. I had to plan. How could I trust someone who'd been sneaking behind? My back with my own brother, how did I not see it? Every time she'd brushed past me with that tight smile, I dismissed it. That's the part that hurts the most, the realization that I'd been blind, willingly ignoring what was right in front of me. That night, sleep didn't come easy. I kept replaying everything, the smiles, the touches, the secret glances. My stomach clenched just thinking about it. How long had this been going on? How many times had I missed the signs? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about her cheating. It was about me losing my sense of reality, my sense of who she really was. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. No, I'd had enough. I knew I needed to do something, but I also knew I couldn't just confront her blindly. That wouldn't fix anything. I had to be smart. I had to get even, and I had to do it in a way that would make her regret ever crossing me. Because if there's one thing I know, it's that when someone betrays you like that, there's no coming back. Not really. The trust is gone, and all that's left is revenge, and I was ready to take it. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My head pounded and my stomach was in knots. I kept thinking about what I'd seen, her messages, the way her words cut through me like a knife. I didn't sleep a wink, but I'd made up my mind. It was time to act. I wanted her to feel every ounce of betrayal I was experiencing. But I also knew I had to be careful. This wasn't just a fling. It was full-blown betrayal, and it needed to be handled with precision. I didn't want to destroy everything in a moment of rage. I needed a plan, a way to make her see that I wasn't some naive fool, blind to what she'd done. First, I needed to find proof. I knew her phone password. She'd always been careless about security. I waited until she left the house for her dinner with her sister, probably to meet him again. I slipped into her purse, my hands trembling, heart pounding. I found her phone nestled in her bag, unlocked as I suspected. I quickly scrolled through her messages, making sure I saved screenshots of everything. Then I turned off her notifications so I could go back later and analyze everything properly. As I sat on the couch, I felt the weight of betrayal pressing down on me like a stone. I clenched my fists, trying to keep my composure. My mind raced through possible next steps. I knew I couldn't just confront her blindly. I had to be strategic. I needed leverage, evidence, and most of all, a way to make her regret every single lie. While I was going through her messages, I caught a glimpse of a photo she had sent him, a picture of her in bed, half-dressed with a flirtatious smirk. I felt my stomach turn over. That was the proof I needed. She'd been careless, thinking she'd get away with it. My fingers curled into fists, and I took a deep breath to calm myself. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. The woman I'd married, the woman I thought I knew, she'd been sneaking around behind my back. And for what? A moment of excitement, a thrill. I felt the bile rising in my throat, but I forced it down. I had to stay focused. Later that day, I started to put my plan into motion. I knew I couldn't just threaten her or yell. She'd deny everything, spin some kind of pathetic story. No, I needed her to see that I had the evidence, that I was serious. I decided I'd leave the messages for her to find, carefully printed and left in plain sight, maybe in her purse or tucked under her pillow. I wanted her to wake up and know I knew everything, that she'd been caught dead to rights. In the meantime, I arranged for a friend to pick me up, pretending I needed a quick getaway. I wasn't sure what I'd do next, maybe confront her directly, maybe just wait to see her reaction when she realized I had the proof. Either way, I was done playing nice. I'd let her see what betrayal really looked like. I still remember the cold rush of adrenaline as I set everything in place. My palms were sweaty, my breathing shallow. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into a minefield. But I also knew that once she saw those messages, she couldn't deny it anymore. And when the moment came, I'd be ready. The worst part was the quiet, crawling suspicion that maybe she'd been lying all along, that she'd always been capable of this. I kept thinking about the little signs I'd ignored, the late nights, the sudden secrecy, her weird excuses. All of it now looked like pieces of a puzzle I'd refused to put together. As I sat in the car, waiting, I felt a strange mixture of fury and numbness. I knew that whatever happened next, nothing would be the same. I'd lost my innocence, my trust, maybe even my future wife. But I also realized I had to take back control. I would make her regret ever crossing me, and I would do it in a way she'd never see coming. The moment I left the house, I felt that strange mix of relief and tension. I had the evidence, the plan was in motion, and all I could do now was wait. The waiting was brutal, every minute stretched out longer than the last. I kept going over every detail, trying to second-guess every move, but deep down, I knew I'd done what I needed to do. She was going to see that I wasn't some naive guy she could manipulate anymore. I told a friend to come over just in case, but honestly, I didn't think I'd need backup. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that she might try to deny everything, or worse, blow up at me. My stomach clenched just thinking about her reaction. I knew she'd be furious, maybe even desperate to cover her tracks or lie her way out of it. That's why I had the evidence ready to go, screenshots, printouts, everything. No way she could wiggle out of this. It was late afternoon when I finally got the text. A simple message from her, "Where are you?" I responded with a vague reply just to keep her guessing. The anticipation was killing me. I could picture her packing around, realizing I'd found out, trying to figure out what I knew. I'd kept my cool, played it like I was just waiting for her to come home. Inside, my pulse was pounding, but I had to act like I was unfazed. Then, her car pulled up. I saw her through the window, the usual calm facade cracking just slightly with nervousness. She stepped inside, eyes darting around. I could tell she was trying to gauge how much I already knew. I made her sit down across from me, keeping my face blank, voice steady. "Did you go out with your sister tonight?" I asked, leaning forward just enough to make her uncomfortable. She hesitated. "Yeah, I told you." "Why?" "No reason," I said. Just curious. I found something last night, something I didn't expect. Her eyes widened just a bit. What are you talking about? I pulled out the printed screenshots, laid them on the table. Her face paled as she saw her own words staring back at her. I watched the realization sink in, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Those aren't mine, she managed to say, voice trembling. Oh, come on, I said, voice low but firm. I've got the proof right here. You didn't think I'd see the messages with my brother, did you? The one where you say you can't wait to be with him tomorrow. I pushed the papers closer. How long has this been going on? She looked down, fighting to keep her composure. You're overreacting. It's nothing. Nothing. I snapped, voice rising. You tell me it's nothing when I've got your messages saying you're planning to cheat on me the night before my wedding. You think I'm an idiot. Her hands shook as she reached for some excuse. It was a mistake. I swear I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just a moment of weakness. I couldn't hold back anymore. A mistake. Do you hear yourself? While I was busy planning our future, you were busy lying to my face. With my brother, no less. How do you explain that? She looked like she was about to cry, her voice cracking. I didn't want to hurt you. I was confused. It didn't mean anything. I clenched my fists so tight my knuckles turned white. It meant everything to me. It meant you were capable of lying, deceiving, sneaking behind my back, and you think I can just forgive that. She tried to speak, but her words faltered. I saw her eyes flicker with panic. I knew I had her cornered now. I'd gotten what I needed, my heart pounding like a drum. I realized that this was the moment I'd been waiting for, time to end this game once and for all. I want my ring, I told her, voice cold, and I want my keys. Pack your things, you're leaving tonight. She stared at me in disbelief, tears glistening in her eyes. You're serious? Oh, I'm very serious, I said. You betrayed me and I won't be the fool anymore. I pushed the evidence even closer. This is your last chance to tell the truth. Are you done lying? She looked away, shoulders trembling, and finally whispered, yes. That was the end of the beginning. I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep that night, not after everything I'd uncovered, but I also knew I had taken control. She made her choice and I was about to make mine. It was over. The fake woman I thought I knew was gone. Now it was just me facing the aftermath of her lies, and I'd never forget that feeling, the cold, sharp clarity of betrayal. That night everything happened fast, faster than I expected, actually. I told her to pack her things, and she hesitated at first, her face streaked with tears. When she finally moved, I kept a close eye on her, trying to hide my own simmering rage. I was numb but fired up inside. The betrayal had made every nerve in my body stand on edge. As she gathered her clothes, I sat on the sofa, arms crossed, watching her every move. Her hands trembled, her movements hurried. I could see her trying to appear calm, but her eyes betrayed her. I wanted her to feel everything I'd been holding back, the anger, the humiliation, the disgust. She finally looked at me, her voice barely above a whisper. Are you really kicking me out over a mistake? I snorted, feeling the bitterness boil in my chest. A mistake? You call that a mistake? Cheating on me with my brother, that's not a mistake, that's a decision, a choice you made behind my back while I was planning our future. She swallowed hard, staring at the floor. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I swear it was just a moment of weakness. I shook my head and looked away. Save it. I don't want to hear your excuses. I found the proof. I saw the messages, the photos. You're done. She looked like she was about to argue, but then she just collapsed onto the bed, clutching her knees, tears streaming down her face. I felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything, just a cold, dead fire inside. I knew I had to finish what I started. No matter how much it hurt her, I couldn't let her worm her way out of this. Not anymore. I told her to leave the house with her bags. She hesitated, then nodded silently. As she packed, I kept my eyes on her, every nerve alive with rage. The gloves were off now. I was about to strip her of everything, the lies, the illusion, the trust. Before she went, I handed her the last of her things. Her face was streaked with tears, but her eyes looked hollow. She knew it was over. I saw her mouth open, probably to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I cut her off with a firm tone. Don't come back, not ever. This is final. I watched her walk out the door, her sobs echoing in the hallway. It felt like a final blow, like I'd sealed my own fate, but honestly I didn't care. I felt liberated, angry, and strangely alive for the first time in months. Once she was gone, I took a deep breath and looked around the empty house. Everything felt different, all the subtle signs of her lies now glaringly obvious. I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about me finally taking control. I'd been a fool to think I knew her, to believe in the promises we made. Now I saw her for what she really was, a person capable of betrayal, of lying right to my face. But I also knew I needed to do something more. A way to make her regret this, something she'd never forget. I sat at my desk, pulled out my phone, and started drafting a plan. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just going to accept her betrayal and walk away. No, I was going to make sure she understood exactly what she lost, and that she'd never get it back. I'd always believed in revenge, but I also knew it had to be calculated. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand she'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I wasn't interested in some petty, childish retaliation. I wanted her to see that she'd made a fool of herself, that she'd betrayed her own integrity, and that she'd lost her future with me forever. And so I began to craft my plan, one that would turn her lies against her, one that would leave her reeling and regretful. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: betrayal like hers doesn't just come with a slap on the wrist. It demands something more. Something that hits where it really hurts. I stayed up that night, fingers flying over my keyboard, plotting the final moves. I knew once I executed this, I'd finally close that chapter. I'd take back my peace, my dignity, and I'd show her that I wasn't someone to be played with, because she might have thought she was clever, but she had no idea what I was capable of when I was pushed to the edge. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange mix of relief and clarity. The house was empty, silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the space where she'd just been. For a moment I allowed myself to feel everything: the anger, the betrayal, the overwhelming sense of loss. But then sharp clarity cut through my fog. I had to act fast, and I had to be smart. My plan was simple but effective. I wanted her to understand she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from, without resorting to some petty revenge, something permanent but subtle. I decided I'd send her a message, a clear, undeniable warning that she'd made her choice, and she'd pay for it one way or another. I pulled out my phone and drafted a message. "You thought you could get away with it, didn't you? Cheating on me with my brother, lying to my face. You've lost everything: your trust, your future with me, maybe even your sense of self. I hope it was worth it." I paused, then added, "And just so you know, I've got all the proof. Every message, every picture, every lie. You're not getting away that easy." I stared at the screen, feeling the weight of each word. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity, about showing her that I was no fool. I hit send and waited, no turning back now. While waiting for her to see the message, I took a deep breath and looked around the house. It was eerily quiet. I'd been so preoccupied with planning my next move that I'd almost forgotten how much I'd been hurt. I could feel my hands trembling slightly, but I forced myself to stay composed. I had to be ready for whatever came next. Minutes later, her reply came. I saw her name pop up on the screen, and my stomach clenched. My heart pounded in my chest as I opened it. The message was short, but it said everything I needed to hear. "I swear I didn't mean for it to go this far. I love you. Please don't do this." That was the moment I realized I couldn't keep silent anymore. This was her last chance to come clean, to face what she'd done. I wanted her to understand that I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to forget it. Not now, not ever. I responded with cold clarity. "You betrayed me in the worst way possible. If you really care, you'll leave now and never come back. I don't want to see your face again." I added, "This is over, forever." I watched her reply, but I already knew what she'd say. She'd try to manipulate, to beg, maybe even lie again, but I was done listening. I knew that once I cut her out of my life, I'd finally be free. I'd take back control, refuse to be anyone's fool anymore. She didn't reply immediately. I could feel the tension hanging in the air. My fingers curled into fists, my jaw clenched tight. The house was silent except for the faint sound of my breathing, loud, sharp, definitive. I had closed a chapter, burned the bridge. No more lies, no more betrayal. And I knew deep down that I'd never look back. Because what she did was unforgivable, and I refused to be a pawn in her game. I was done being blind, done being naive. From now on, I was going to build something better, something that didn't rely on lies, deception, or betrayal. As I sat there, staring at the empty space where she'd been, I realized I'd taken the first real step toward reclaiming myself. The pain still lingered, but so did a strange sense of liberation. I had finally opened my eyes, and nothing could ever turn that light out. I got up, grabbed her keys, and placed them on the table. I knew I had to do one last thing, free myself of her completely. I took a deep breath, picked up the folder I'd prepared the night before, proof of everything, and headed to the mailbox. Today wasn't just about ending things. It was about closing the door for good. I slid the folder inside and watched the mailbox swing shut. That's when I turned around, feeling that rare, genuine sense of closure settling deep in my chest. No more secrets, no more lies, no more pain, just a quiet promise to myself I'd rebuild one step at a time. Because if there's one lesson I've learned, it's this: trust is a fragile thing, and once broken, it's damn hard to mend. But not impossible, not if you're willing to walk away and start over. After I handed over the keys and sealed that chapter of my life, I felt a strange calm wash over me. It was like finally exhaling after holding my breath for too long. The house, once full of memories and her presence, now felt hollow but surprisingly free. I had made the decision to cut her out completely, and it was as if a heavy weight had been lifted from my shoulders. In the days that followed, I kept my distance from everything that reminded me of her. No calls, no texts, no lingering thoughts about what could have been. I threw myself into work and took long walks to clear my head. The truth was, I hadn't just lost her, I'd lost a part of what I thought was my future. But in that loss, I found something else, an unexpected clarity. I realized how much I had let her manipulate my perceptions, how blind I'd been for so long. Looking back, I see now that the signs were there, small, subtle cracks in the facade I refused to see. Those late nights, the secretive glances, the little excuses she'd give for her absence. I always brushed them off, convinced I was just overthinking. But the truth was staring me in the face. I just chose not to see it. The most important lesson I took away from all this is simple but powerful. Trust is earned, but it's fragile. Once broken, it's damn near impossible to fix unless both parties are willing to be honest and work for it. I wonder how she feels now, knowing I saw through her, knowing I exposed her lies. I don't dwell on it anymore. That chapter is closed. For anyone going through something similar, I'll say this: don't ignore the red flags. Don't convince yourself it's just a phase or that people change. If you notice something off, if your gut screams at you, pay attention. Because the worst betrayal isn't just someone cheating, it's losing yourself in the process. Trust your instincts, protect your peace. I also learned that revenge isn't about destruction, it's about reclaiming your dignity. You can't undo what's been done, but you can choose how to respond. For me, walking away was the only way to truly heal. The moment I let her go, I felt a weight lift I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. I found clarity in my pain, and that's what gave me the strength to move forward. Today, I stand here stronger, more aware. I didn't get what I wanted from her, but I gained something far more valuable: self-respect. And in the end, that's worth more than any apology or excuse. I'll never trust blindly again, but I will trust myself to see the truth for what it is. And to anyone feeling betrayed, remember, you deserve honesty, you deserve respect. Don't settle for less. Walk away if you have to, because the right person will never make you question your worth. They'll love you enough to be honest, to be faithful, to respect the trust you give. If they don't, then they're just not worth it. So I closed the door on her and I stepped into a new beginning. It's not easy, and the pain still lingers at times, but I know I'm better for it. I finally see things clearly now, and I'm finally free. That's what matters most.